The impasse on funding the federal government has so far been more of a nuisance than a crisis for state residents. But as it moves into its fourth week, more Oklahomans are starting to feel the pain of the shutdown and its effect on everything from transportation and air travel to agriculture.
While some of the nation's busiest airports are reporting longer lines at checkout counters and screening checkpoints as more security officers call in sick, Will Rogers World Airport in Oklahoma City hasn't seen that yet.
At least right now, we're not seeing any significant impact to the traveling public as far as screening is concerned.
Airport spokesperson Karen Carney says so far there hasn't been an increase in sick leave being taken by TSA employees who are now facing their first week without a paycheck.
Well, I think it's very important to remember that these people are working for no pay right now. They're coming and working and keeping the air navigation system going, keeping travelers going.
Carney says they're helped by the fact that January is typically one of the slowest months for air travel, so screening of passengers hasn't created many delays. But she points out it's not just TSA employees who aren't getting a paycheck.
Air traffic controllers are also working without pay, although they're doing the very same thing. They're showing up, keeping the airplanes in the air and doing a great job.
Still, the effects of the shutdown are being felt. The FAA Academy in Oklahoma City, which trains the nation's air traffic controllers, has closed its doors and canceled classes, sending most of the students home.
They are not getting paid. They're not getting paid the level of pay that they hire on at as a trainee, as a student. So yeah, it affects them. They had to fly home.
Matt Garrett, an air traffic control radar instructor who works as a contractor for the federal government, says it's especially unfortunate that classes have been canceled now, even as the number of air traffic controllers is at a 30-year low.
You got to keep in mind, too, there's probably on the other side of that coin, there's probably controllers out there at the point of, hey, I can retire, but now they can't because there's nobody to process their papers.
And while Garrett says the U.S. has the safest system of air travel in the world, uncertainties about how long the shutdown will last is bound to affect already low morale among controllers.
That's in the back of people's minds, I'm sure. I mean, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for that if this continues? To say that they'll get back pay, I'm sure the federal side will, but folks that are on my side of the fence as a government contractor, we're not going to see it.
And even if the shutdown ends soon, it will take additional time to bring students back to the academy and restart classes, creating further delays in the pipeline of new controllers. Meanwhile, it's not just travel through the air that's being affected. The federal government pays about 80 to 90% of most road construction projects, so dozens of projects that were scheduled to begin in the coming months will have to be delayed.
That's about $133 million worth of work that is being pushed on down the road. It will only exacerbate itself the longer it goes.
ODOT Executive Director Mike Patterson says no current projects will be affected by the shutdown.
But when you look at delaying future projects, some of these have real safety issues that we're trying to fix. They have mobility issues that we're trying to fix, and we're just delaying that.
And Patterson says even when the shutdown ends, it will still have an impact on future projects because of environmental issues.
Get our bridge project started before the barn swallows or the cliff swallows show up. Well, delaying some of these is going to get us right into those situations. So we're going to have some environmental issues that are going to further delay these, possibly into the fall.
Oklahoma's agricultural sector is also starting to feel the pinch. The Farm Service Agency, which helps farmers and ranchers with a wide range of services, including loans, remains closed. Oklahoma Farm Bureau President Rod Moselle says that has an impact on younger farmers who rely on those loans.
They may have gotten a check from an insurance company or from their commodity vendor, from whoever's buying their commodity, and so they may be holding a check for $15,000 or $30,000, and it's made out jointly to FSA, who has their loan, and to them, and they're not able to their bank won't cash that until somebody from FSA endorses it.
Moselle says if the shutdown drags on much longer, It could have an impact on farmers' decisions about how much and when to plant.
Sometimes if people miss a date for one crop, they'll plant a different crop. So it completely changes what kinds of crops are grown and what kinds of quantities. So it will start to have effects on what gets planted and then ultimately what's get harvested, and so what the supply and demand is for every single crop.
Moselle says most Oklahoma farmers will be okay in the short term, but
if this drags on another 3 weeks, that starts to become a real problem. And not having the lending available from FSA really becomes a problem the more it stretches on and we get closer to crop season and when folks would need to be redoing their loans for the new crops and so forth.
The shutdown is also starting to affect Oklahoma's housing sector. Jason Doyle has more on that.